Hi, today we're going to talk about one of the most important tools any gardener should have. Hi, welcome back. Hand pruners, probably one of the three most important tools any gardener can have. And they're important because of all the things that we can do. We can, for instance, shape and cut our shrubs. We can use them on our houseplants. We can use them to, for instance, as the daffodils or our other bulbs or our perennials, as they die back, we can cut the flowers or seed pods off. We can use them to deadhead. Take off old flowers or seeds and keep our plants looking better and healthier that way. There's a multiple of uses with our hand pruners, and a good pair of hand pruners that's comfortable in your hand is a must, an absolute must. So we're going to talk about the two different types of pruning shears out there, and we're going to show you how they work and how they function, and we're going to talk a little more about them before we actually do some pruning. So we have two different types of hand pruners. One is bypass, works very much like your scissors, for instance. You have a sharp edge. If you look how this works, it just goes right by and it makes a nice clean cut. The other style is called anvil. And if we look at how this one works, you have a very soft surface. It can be zinc, lead, copper sometimes they'll use. And the idea is this blade kind of crushes down and then ends up shearing through here. These, as you can tell, I've had these for several years and they've never been used. The only thing that I like to use these on is if I'm going to cut roses, lilacs, something woody that I want to crush the end of the stem. It'll allow more water up and it'll keep those flowers alive longer. But just like us as people, a nice clean cut heals faster than a nice jagged, nasty cut. So your bypass pruners are your best pruners to use. Nice clean cuts heal up much faster as far as the plants go. Now the question is, how big can we actually go? And the best thing to do is, this is kind of a half-inch dowel rod. And if you look in my case, this half-inch dowel rod's about the size of my little finger. So I can use this as a tool to determine whether or not I'm trying to cut something too big. Now, I know that you're going to read packages, and the packages on most things are going to tell you for hand pruners, they'll cut up to 5/8. I don't recommend that, particularly if you're trying to cut very hardwoods, or let's say, for instance, lilacs. If you have a dead branch on a lilac tree, lilacs are extremely hard to cut. So 5/8, you're going to struggle. If you start struggling, you're taking on something too big to cut and you need to move up to a bigger shears, or you need to move up to a pruning saw. And we're going to talk about those in some other episodes. So bypass pruners are our best, and let's take a look at this. You'll see there's different locking mechanisms. This old style has just that. Some will lock like this, open up like these. Some of them will lock on the top. The style is not so important. What's important is you need to find a pair of shears that's comfortable, fits in your hand well. If they're uncomfortable, you don't want to use them, and that's not what we're looking for here. So let's take a look at some different styles of bypass shears. So there's a lot of different types of bypass shears. The handles are different, the locking mechanisms we've already talked about are different, but here's a couple different styles here. Here's a very fine small one, and for instance, if I was going to do bonsai, I would buy these because I'm able to reach in there and clip very small and very precise. Here's another different style. These don't feel so well in my hand, but in your hand they may feel great. So if you go into a store to buy a pair, try using them. See if the locking mechanism stays in place. This is something real important. Put the lock on and squeeze the handle a couple times. If the mechanism is no good, it's going to allow this to spring open, and that's a safety concern. You don't want to do that. So Once again, bypass shears, a couple of different styles that we have here. So pruning is really not that hard. You can make pruning work for you, or you can make pruning work against you. And by that, I'm talking about you have to pay very close attention to how the buds are. So let's take this ginkgo, for instance. If we make a cut right here, this branch is going to grow toward us. If I want the branch to grow away from us, if I cut here, that branch is going to grow out that way. If I cut here, for instance, this is going to grow this way. And, you know, depending, I mean, I can cut all the way down and determine. Now, this is really important, particularly when you start getting into fruit trees or you're doing especially pruning, to pay very close attention to your buds. So if you have a plant, you want it to stay away from the side of your house, so it's not rubbing your windows or rubbing your siding. Pay very close attention to the bud placement, and you can make that work for you or make that work against you. Now, you'll see here, this is the next thing we're going to bring up, how far to actually cut. On hardwoods, I like to do about 1/4 of an inch. And if you notice, there's just a slight angle to this. We don't want a big angle, just a slight angle, kind of the same direction with the bud, for instance. If I'm going to prune really soft wood, really fresh soft wood, or like perennials, for instance, I could move up to about 1/2 inch to allow a little bit of dieback. If you get too close to this bud, and we clip this bud way too close, like this, for instance, this is going to die, take that bud with it, and then all this to here is going to be dead or can potentially die. We want to keep the amount of dead wood down. Dead wood causes infection and it just makes the plant look unsightly. So once again, slight angle, we're going to cut like that, just like that, and that's all you need to do. And this applies for any tree, any shrub, anything you're going to prune like that. By paying attention to that cut, you can determine which way and make a nice clean cut that's going to keep your plant healthier that way. So now that we've actually seen how to use this pair of hand pruners, the next important thing is actually how to maintain and keep these pruners sharp. So WD-40 is your friend. So when you're done pruning, for instance, I like the cans that you can just fog a little bit, and you want to make sure you get some oil down here in the pivot points. Sometimes the springs can use a little bit. This locking mechanism on this one doesn't, but sometimes you need to spray a little bit in the locking mechanism. And what you're looking for is you want to make sure you've completely oiled everything there. If that sap groove is all built up and has sap in it, it'll push this blade away and you will not get a nice sharp clean cut. So if you put a little WD-40 on there and then you have a small little wire brush, you can put on a set of gloves and you can just go over that a couple of times and it'll take the sap right out of that sap groove. Now obviously the next thing we need to talk about is actual sharpening. And this, we want to make sure we have a nice fine file, and we also want to make sure we have a pair of leather gloves. Now, if you've sharpened an axe before, or you've sharpened a knife, the technique is just like that. You never go back and forth across the blade. You just take the file, and you're slowly start here, and you're working out toward the edge. So, let's show you how this works. So, we start here with the file. Just follow along. Once again, slowly taking the file, working along the edge. And we're done. Doesn't take much if you do this every so often. You have a nice surface, you check. We can see where we don't have any nicks or anything like that. We have to file off. And the back side, you shouldn't really have to do anything with. But if you do have a little burr on there, you can just take your file and you can go like that a couple of times and you're all set. And then they're sharp, they're ready, they won't rust on you, and they're all ready for your next time.